Have you started recording, Jill? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Councillor Matthew Scott isn't able to be with us this evening, and we're also, because item number 19, the proposal for the community interest company for Westgate-on-Sea, because the asset transfer has not actually gone through yet. I know it's been imminent for a very long time, but there have been issues, but it is imminent. But we're pulling the last item. Councillor Donaldson kindly agreed to that. So there's no number 19 tonight. Right.
Sorry, Councillor Comfort, Dusty Gedge is just joining us now.
Ah. Good evening, Dusty.
Hello, how are you?
We're all good. We were mildly worried about you, but Jill held fast that you would be here with us. So welcome, and thank you for agreeing to come along and speak to us about your green roofs.
Yeah, I'll turn my video off until you need me. Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, our agenda item number 2, members' interest. Do any members have any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest to declare? Fine. Going on to the minutes then. We need to receive and approve these minutes for the extraordinary council meeting on the 23rd of February. You will all have read these. So Councillor O'Connor, thank you. Proposing, and a seconder, please. Councillor Page, thank you. And the full council meeting held on the 2nd of March.
Sorry, Councillor Comfort, just
never
yeah.
do it, do I? Everybody in agreement? Can I see everyone's hand? Thank you very much. Thank you. And full council on the 2nd of March. A proposer, please. Councillor O'Connor, and a seconded by Councillor Nightingale, and everyone in agreement? Lovely, thank you. And then finally, the minutes for the Planning, Highways and Environment Committee on the 9th of February. Would a councillor Dr. Scott, thank you, propose, and Councillor David Donaldson seconded, and everyone in agreement? Thank you very much. Item number 4 is the Town Clerk's report. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen for a moment. Okay, is everybody happy they can see that? Yeah, okay. So this is my Town Clerk report for tonight, the 6th of April 2021. The first thing I want to bring to your attention is the train station 150th anniversary update. So next Monday, 12th of April, there will be a low-key marking of the 150th anniversary of the Westgate-on-Sea train station, when the trains first stopped at the station on the 12th of April 1871. And you'll see there the template that Richard Hambridge has done for us to display on the 12th. So that's quite interesting, exciting. The next item is the Speedwatch update. So our Speedwatch sessions will commence again next week. I won't say the exact date in case there are people out there that might be listening. And there will be further sites added in due course. If anyone is interested in volunteering for an hour each month, please do get in touch with me for more details. Then I've got some dates for your diary. There's hoped to be a food and drink festival the 11th to the 13th of June this year. I have spoken to the organisers recently, and they are in the final process of agreeing this with TDC. They're taking bookings currently for stalls, and if you are interested, please contact the Town Council, and we do have their details, which are also on our website. The Scarecrow Festival is scheduled for the 17th to the 24th of July this year, and Lorraine has asked if anybody wants to support and get involved and promote and help work with her. And between now and July, please do get in touch with her. Also, don't forget, we've got our annual town anniversary on the 18th of July this year, and we are planning later on in the evening how to mark the dates this year. So please keep checking the website for residents as well for updates. The annual town meeting It's confirmed it's being held virtually this year, so please zoom in, pardon the pun. We have guest speakers, including the new PCSO, Mark Vogel, Steve Migan from Changing Minds Kent CIC, sometimes known as the Lifeboat Project, and Peter Hasted, our Tree Biodiversity Warden. The agenda is now posted on our website and it will be on the notice boards from tomorrow. And if any residents need any assistance with access to Zoom, please contact the office and we'll be happy to help. The Town Council magazine next issue is now out for distribution, so some of you should be receiving that this week. Please be aware that there are one consultation opportunity in the magazine this issue, and there will be more to follow in the next issue in June. Volunteering for the community. I've actually done an article in the magazine this time all about volunteering. There are lots of opportunities to get involved with volunteering in Westgate. We've got Westgate in Bloom for those who are green fingered, Westgate Against Rubbish for those who care about the environment, and Speedwatch for those who want to raise awareness of dangers of increased speed of vehicles, and other initiatives will be launching soon. Please do check out the article in the Town Council magazine, which is titled, "Do you want to be part of building a better future for the town?" where you'll find more details. I've attended various seminars and talks this month. One of them was the new initiative from Kent County Council. KCC have partnered with Space Hive to launch Crowdfund Kent, which is an exciting opportunity for registered charities, community interest companies and constituted community groups to access funding from community-led COVID-19 recovery projects. I also attended the 20-minute neighbourhoods. That was a whole day online conference with guest speakers who shared vast amounts of detail about the concept of compact neighbourhoods and how small differences can have huge impacts on a community. Also celebrating Making a Bus for the Coast. That was very enjoyable. This was a culmination of looking back over what the project has accomplished for the last 3 years and the legacy that it has created. And then last but not least, Keep Britain Tidy, Great British Spring Clean, the launch event. And that is actually going to be the 28th of May to the 13th of June. So I'll be organising some litter picks for them. And lastly, part of my update for this evening, the COVID-19 updates. I'm sure you're all aware that the restrictions changed from the 29th of March and we're now in step 1. I'll be continuing to keep the website updated with all the latest information. And just to let residents know that if they still need prescription assistance at the moment, we're going to continue with that. But clearly that will be coming to an end in the next month or so, but I will keep everybody updated on that. Thank you very much.
Not used to muting. Yes, thank you for all that. I know you've been really busy, and the 20-minute neighbourhoods is definitely worth reading if anybody wants a copy of that. Have you had many volunteers for the litter picking?
Not yet, no. I've met up with some people in the community that are litter picking independently and had conversations with them. So clearly it's something I really want to launch, and hopefully we can get more volunteers at our annual town meeting.
Good, good. Because I saw outside St Saviour's, I saw a mum litter picking while she was waiting to pick up her children. And then another resident spoke to me about some of the ideas, which hopefully he will air at the annual town meeting. Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, I'm happy to be put down for a couple of shifts, so I'll work it through with you, Jill. Yeah.
Good. Item number 5, we don't appear to have any KCC councillors here or TDC councillors. So item number 6, any of our councillors, do you have any news to impart? Share? I did see good news. I did see Ray Taylor at West Bay over the Easter weekend, and it looked as if he'd, walked to the bay from Linksfield, which is really, really good news. So he'll be litter picking soon. And Jill didn't mention it because it's a big thing, but it's a small thing as well. Lorraine and Richard laid the carpet tiles in the office, so it's really comfortable in there and so much better. Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, just to say that I'm working with Jill on year end for the finance. So that should be done and dusted in the next couple of weeks and completely put to bed, ready for the auditors to come out. So that's going ahead.
Good. Well, that will go smoothly as before, won't it? There's one other, Councillor Dr. Scott.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Jill, for the presentation, because it was really nice to look at the pictures and read along on your report. I found that really helpful, and also when the dates were coming up, when you mentioned the dates, they were on the screen, so then I could type it into my phone. So I've got all of those dates in my phone ready to go, all the spring cleans and things. So put me down for any weekend sessions around that time. But just quickly to say that Jill and Danielle and the clerk, and I have been working on an open space allocation, but I have an agenda item on that anyway, so we'll discuss it a bit further. But we have been working on how we can try and protect our agricultural land over the last few weeks.
Yep, that's been really good too. One other thing I wanted to say this morning, we all received the latest CALP news, and unfortunately central government have not extended the possibility of, or the legislation rather, on having virtual meetings, which NALC had lobbied for, and is a bit of a blow because it means it makes meetings so much more accessible to residents. And there is a call for evidence which is going on this month. So I'll get back to everybody by email in the next couple of weeks, because it's really important. NALC have asked us to feed back in on the positives of virtual meetings. Moving on.
Councillor Crawford. Councillor
Yes.
Green's got his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Councillor Green. I'm really sorry.
At the annual town meeting, I will not be attending, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's a shame, but thank you.
I'm undergoing selection for technical rescue team, so I won't be able to make that now.
Oh, that sounds good. Technical rescue. Okay, thank you. Item 7. No one has asked to speak, have they, Jill?
No request to speak.
All right then. So we move on to Dusty Gedge, who's very kindly said that he will come and speak to us. And on the 6th of June, you've got the World Green Roof Day, and coincidentally, on the 7th of June is the week for volunteers. It's celebration of the millions of volunteers throughout the UK. So we'll all be planting up. Over to you, Dusty. Thank you.
I've got a little short presentation because I know I've only got 5 minutes, so I'll share my screen if I may. But before I do that, I don't know if members know, I was brought up in Westgate, and I still have a long connection to, well, Birchington. My mother still lives in Birchington, and anybody who knows Christchurch will probably know my mother and my stepfather, who were both elders at Christchurch on Westgate Avenue. That might come up in the little... could you let me share? It's saying host disabled participant sharing. How do we share?
Jules?
Sorry, Dusty. I have it set so that nobody else can share their screen, and that's really because of when we got residents joining us.
That's fine. It might help because I've got a project that I was asked to talk about. It would help, but
hold on. So I'll see if I can find out how to do that for you.
While you're doing it, if you just give me a nod while you're doing it. Anyway, so for my sins, I'm one of the UK's leading independent authorities on putting vegetation and soil on buildings. And through Peter Hasted, who was an intern up at Greenwich University he's made this connection. We were due to go down to Ramsgate Harbour and look at the London Array building and the green roof there. So obviously we're starting at Westgate, but it'd be nice to talk to Thanet District Council and maybe even Kent County Council. So there's a lot of reasons in a big city like London to do green roofs. Perhaps those reasons don't necessarily add up in an area like Thanet, but they do help alleviate serious flooding. And I can remember getting stuck in a road in Westgate in 1973 in a flood in Thanet. They actually store rainwater. They're a source control mechanism within the SUDS urban drainage system. They actually help cool buildings. There's not many social housing blocks in Westgate that I know, in Thanet that I know of, but certainly residents in many of the boroughs in London in heat waves actually suffer from heat excess, especially at night, and that's increasing across the UK, because even in Manchester, people are suffering from heat waves. But the main reason I suspect from, well, certainly from my perspective, having spent my life botanising around Thanet when I was a teenager, is to deliver biodiversity. And strategically, from a council's perspective, biodiversity net gain is likely to become a legal requirement. And in dense urban areas, and I could think even in parts of Thanet, green roofs may be appropriate on flat roof developments, because there's a lot of housing planned for Thanet. And particularly what I wanted to talk to you, and if I get to show you some pictures, is I was shown a block in the recreation ground on Lymington Road. It's probably about 40 square metres. And it would be very easy for the parish council or the council to go out and get a green roof, tick the box. My view would be, and the success of my work in London was about delivering local and regional biodiversity. See if I can, no, not quite. And my view would be, on such a small roof like that, it would be very relatively easy to deliver local wildflowers associated with the cliff tops around Thanet. And I've done this before in London. We're talking about Volunteer Day on June the 7th. It's actually the right time of the year. Is, you know, if one was to take that forward as a green roof, is to actually collect seeds, get the community involved in collecting seeds. I've collected many a seed, even in my mid-50s, along between Apple Bay and West Bay. I've got a list of species that are very common on the cliffs of Thanet. And essentially the wildflowers that are used on green roofs are basically calcareous, which is chalk. There's a couple of technical things in terms of that project. We need to know whether the waterproofing is fit for purpose, and probably need a structural assessment. And of course, Holt and Wootton are Kent structural engineers, and my stepfather was the original Eric Holt, who set up that organisation. And I'm wondering whether I might be able to talk to my stepbrother and get a bit of pro bono, as he still lives in Birchington. Not that I speak to him very much, but they're the real technical issues. If you've got good structure, you can deliver a very, very good green roof or biodiversity. And it's an opportunity maybe for Westgate and also for Thanet, is to the principles that we would use. I've got an online do-it-yourself guide that I wrote with my colleague from Essex, is a way of encouraging residents in Westgate to build green roofs on their sheds, on their extensions, their garages. It's a guide that costs £12, which tells you everything you need to know about building something on your shed. And it may seem small beer. I'm sure Westgate and Thanet have got far more important issues at this present moment in this time. But it could be a way of engaging residents in delivering biodiversity in Thanet and getting them involved in that sort of process. There's not a lot I don't know about green roofs. I sit on all the technical committees in Europe. I sit at the Commission as well, even though we've left. So I'm here to help. I will give my time pro bono, and I'm certainly would be happy if Westgate was to be able to get me to talk to Thanet District Council, because I have a great love of Thanet and I still go once a week because my elderly mother is not in a good place at this present moment in time. Thank you very much. I'll send the presentation through as a PDF so that you can circulate to council.
Thank you, Dusty. Yes, I've literally found, I think, how to do it, but it's probably a bit late now, but thank you.
It was just, I could quickly whiz through it in about 30 seconds. It's just to show you some nice pictures of what a green roof should look like in May and June. Because else you would just be going on commercial sites and not really, it'd be, my idea would be, can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes.
Very quickly, I'll just go to show you what these things should look like. This is actually in St Paul's. It's not a commercial building, but that's the kind of thing that you can get on the recreation ground building. Also, from a district council's point of view, in terms of carbon neutrality, you can mix green roofs and solar panels. It's a bit technical, but it's actually possible. This one's up in Barnet on a children's hospital. There's your block. I had a little look at it online, and this is actually a carbon negative green roof on a similar sort of block, actually, in Neath that I advised on last year. And I'll circulate this, but this is the kind of thing that one would be looking to deliver on a block like that. And there you go. I'll make that as a PDF and send it to Gail so that she can circulate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dusty. How did you get into green roofs?
Well, originally when I was at Chatham House Grammar School, I wanted to go off and do a degree in ecology. And then when I was 16, drugs, rock and roll, I decided I'd go into a degree in theatre, and I became a theatre and a circus performer. Now, this is all relevant because I ended up moving to London. I joined the theatre circus in Lewisham. And in the mid-90s, I set up off my own back a circus workshop to get truants off the street in a Greenwich council estate. I've actually got paid by the Royal Borough of Greenwich. And the guy who, funny enough, knew I was a bird watcher, which I've been a bird watcher since I was whenever. And I got to do a bird survey of Deptford Creek. And there's a rare bird there. And we put the habitat on the roofs. And that was about 1997. And all the engineers said, you can't do that. So I flew off to Switzerland off my own back to find out how you could do it. And the rest is history.
That's brilliant. That's imaginative and active.
Absolutely true story.
I think, yes, I know we can all believe that, having listened to you. Councillor Dr. Scott has a question.
Yeah, I thought the presentation was excellent. I know that myself and Councillor Cornford are completely into green roofs. We did come up and see the green roof at the University of Greenwich. We've been up there and I've had a look around. So yeah, this is definitely right up our street. I suppose the question is with regards to structural integrity, what's the kind of with regards to a shed or a garage, are you having to put in extra structural features in order to hold it up? What's the cost usually to be able to do this?
Well, with a shed, in our DIY guide, we actually show how you have to, basically, when you put a ton of soil on a shed roof, it's not an issue of the roof collapsing, it's actually bracing. So what you have to do is you put some plywood around the walls to stop the bracing, and that's described. And you may have to put some extra joists in. Again, we described that, and probably that to strengthen a shed is between 50 and 100 pounds, probably to strengthen a shed, maybe less. The actual green roof element is probably about 20 or 30 pounds a square meter, and a shed is normally not even 10 meters. Do you know what I mean? It's probably four meters. The DIY guide, and I have to promote it, not because I want you to spend 12 quid. We wrote it because we were getting, both my colleague and I was getting nearly 100 emails a week from people asking how they could do their shed or their garage. Again, with garages, depending on the building, a lot of brick-built garages, you can actually get new joists in because they often have a gap at the roof where the brick ends. And again, 3 or 4 more joists costing maybe £20. It's not a huge amount of money. The main issue is making sure it's watertight on a shed, and like on your block, the waterproofing is probably good and reasonably fit for purpose. So you can actually just put a pond liner on top of there just to gild the lily. Of course, if you're on a commercial build, we're in a different situation. But certainly a shed, you can use a pond liner. You don't really felt is not actually root protected. So it'd be fine to put a green roof on the felt, but we always say, well, look, you know, if you want to gild the lily, because if anything goes wrong, it's a lot of hard work to take a ton of substrate off a roof. You might as well get it right from the start, you know. So in the old days, a lot of the alternative technology places used to talk about using cardboard and wool carpet. Well, again, if you haven't taken out every single staple or tack in a wool carpet or a piece of cardboard, you know, and it's easy to overlook that, and then you'll get a leak. So we still get told off by the Centre for Alternative Technology. We say, well, it's just not worth it. It's not worth having a leak. And so, as I said in the basic principles, which you'll get, I don't talk about flowers until I know that you've got water tightness and it's not going to collapse. They're the two most important things.
Thank you.
I hope, Helen, that answered that, Councillor Page. Councillor David Donaldson, sir.
Yeah, hi, Dusty. Thanks very much for coming along, and thanks very much for your presentation. I've done quite a lot of work on the recreation ground, and the roof on the pavilion changing rooms, I think needs replacing. It's currently a felt roof.
Yeah.
And I've had sort of costings for replacing it with a fiberglass roof, which would be very waterproof, very strong. And also it needs new fascias, new guttering, because most of the fascias are missing. All the guttering is actually missing, where it's in such a dilapidated state. And, you know, putting another, the cost of the fiberglass roof would be something like 7,000. Plus unfortunately, there's an asbestos tank, which we're going to get rid of and make the roof completely flat. And, you know, adding another 1,200 or 1,500 for a green roof, I think will be absolutely fantastic. So I'll get your details from Jill, you know, tomorrow or the next day, and, you know, we can maybe talk about this further. Thanks very much again. Thank you.
Councillor, the other thing, the design of the fiberglass is very good for green roof, but there's a little bit of how the other basic principle is making sure the water can get off where you need it to. But you won't need the same amount of guttering and drainage that you would on a normal roof, because the green roof stores so much rainwater. So there's some cost savings there. But yeah. I'm happy to chat to you about that. Yeah. Also, if I may, Peter Hasted does have an interest, and he does know how to potentially do the green roof, and maybe do the green roof as a community project, which we have done before, because it has to have scaffolding. So I'm quite keen on these community engagement processes. I'm just highlighting that because he's a local resident and he's your biodiversity warden, and he's certainly come on a couple of my training courses. So I'm just highlighting that because local labour, local engagement, and local
absolutely, yeah,
a good thing.
Yeah. Keep it local. Yes.
That. I just like to wave that flag. You know.
Okay.
Absolutely, thank you. Does anybody else have a question for Dusty?
Sorry, I just have one more quick comment. Councillor Donaldson, are we needing lighting in the new pavilion? Need lighting in there?
Well, there's lighting in there already.
Okay.
But I think the electrics need, you know, a bit of an overhaul, like everything else does. You know,
just that, I mean, just that picture in front of us is kind of giving me an idea. You know, if we're going to be really renovating this pavilion, and we've got the flat roof, and we were looking at the green roof as well, then possibly the solar panels to go with it could be a nice complement.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And also the outdoor gymnasium as well, you know, that has floodlights, so the possibility of using solar panels, etc., you know, for the whole site. Yeah.
If you let me know what the kind of electricity use is for what you've mentioned, Councillor Johnson, I can work out how many solar panels you might need to do it. But it is relatively expensive for such a small roof, because you need the inverter, which is quite expensive, but it may justify from a carbon neutrality point of view how you do that. But I can advise slightly.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the amount of electricity use will be quite limited, because it's, you know, it's not used, you know, as somewhere to live at all. It's obviously just for sports activities.
Yeah. It may be only one or two panels. You
Yeah.
may only have 1 or 2 panels, but that's
Yeah.
where you may go, it's not worth it because the inverter costs so much money.
Yeah.
And you get an inverter for a
Okay.
whole block. Do you know what I mean? Which is not to say you shouldn't do it, but there's a kind of balance there, you know.
It
I'm
could,
sure,
however,
I'm
be an
sure we'll
investment.
find a solution. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It could, however, be an investment for the town council because that's quite a large roof, and so we could be selling the electricity back to the grid, not just powering for the pavilion. But that's another. That's
There
for
is
another
one,
day.
if I may, Ms. Scott, is I don't know what goes on in the recreation ground, but if there's need for hot water, you can do what is also solar thermal, and that's actually quite good to go on a green roof. It's not used very often, but that may be appropriate to the use of the site. I don't know how the site is used, but there is a thing called solar thermal which heats water up, and then reduces the boiler costs because it's been preheated by the sun. But I can send a picture of that. I can add a picture of that if I can find that one to that so that you can see that too.
Lovely. That's a huge number of ideas because we've also got a container right next door to the pavilion. So that has a flat roof.
Well, actually, the Neath, the 2 pictures in Neath, if I show you the 2 pictures in Neath, that is a freight container. That one, that's a freight container roof.
Right.
So you know, I don't know what your budgets are, but it's a much better idea to get a contractor to do both at the same time because it'd be cheaper. You know.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely. No, thank you for that, Dusty. And I'm sure we're going to be communicating with you in the future.
Happy to. And as I say, if any of you councillors are on TDC, I'm very happy to do a strategic talk in terms of policy because I wrote all the London policy, I wrote all the Manchester and blah, 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 which I don't want to big myself up, but working at that level, district council level or county council level, I'm very happy to do a strategic talk to TDC as and when. Obviously, I know Thanet well, but that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Well, you don't get to be president of the European Federation if you don't know anything, do you?
I did.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and thank you for Jill for organising it, and
Thank
Peter
you.
too.
If you don't mind, I'll go off and have a supper now, if you don't mind.
No,
I will
please
get
do.
this sent to Jill sometime this evening or tomorrow morning, and I might put some more strategic stuff in there. Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Many
bye.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dusty.
How do I leave?
Well, that was really interesting. Number 9, item number 9, our financial reports, and Councillor O'Connor, if you'd like to talk us through these, please.
Yes, will do. Right, you've got your normal bank reconciliation reports. It just shows you our bank balances as at the end of February, which is these reports are up to. So you can see how much we've been in the bank. They have been reconciled and agreed in the office. So they've all been checked and agreed in the office. So if anybody wants to query anything, please let me know, but they're what we have in the bank. You've got a list here of payments and receipts. So this shows you the breakdown of our payments and receipts of what's been spent against the different levels. So we've got that. And again, if anybody wants any details of anything of why, please let us know on the reports there. We have our payments and receipts by budget heading. So here you can actually see the different cost centres. So for instance, the costs that we've got for the vehicles and the human resources, and the fact that they're all online for budget. So at this time of the year, we would expect to be running about 90% against the budget that's been the full year budget there. As you can see, most of it, we're under the budget. So we're doing quite well this year. We haven't had the expenses going through. So any further details, again, let us know. And then we've got the annual budget by combined account code. And this one here shows us the year-to-date costs that we've got, just showing income against expenditure. And again, it shows you last year, so you can see how much we were last year and what we're doing against it this year. So again, anybody, any questions from any of those reports, please let us know. They've all been through finance and anything being queried through finance. But if you need any details at all, please let us know. Okay. And as I said, we are working on the year-end one, which seems to be stacking up quite nicely. So we're quite happy how things are going at the moment. Okay. Any questions from anybody on any of that? No. So can we ask if they're all accepted then, please, to go through? Do you want them all together or one at a time? Oh, Councillor Pennington, are you proposing we accept them?
Yes, I was going to propose or second, whichever.
Thank you. Okay, and Councillor Donaldson, and all in favour? Thank you. Okay, and the last but not least, we've got the capital expenditure projects. Again, so we've had a look at this. Is everybody happy with what we put down on the report of this? Has anybody got any queries? Sorry, Jill.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say, do you want me to? Because yeah, I'll let you go on mute.
Thank you, because my dog.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. So that last part of that item there, this is just the list of capital expenditure projects that we shared with you at the last meeting, just to give you an opportunity to take that away. As you'll see, the defibrillator for St Mildred's Bay, we've already resolved to purchase that, so that's already been agreed. And then if you go down the list, there were some additional litter bins that were proposed. We've had one or two locations shared with us, so that was put on the list. We had some grit bins, because I know particularly during the cold snap we had, it was raised that there aren't any actual grit bins on the other side of Canterbury Road, so it's felt quite important. We do have to get those approved, the locations, with Kent County Council as well, so that's just factored into there in the budget. Obviously, we've got the budget already agreed capital climate change report in the budget for this year, so you'll see that that's on the list as well. The Christmas lights, that was again discussed at the last meeting. I'm going to give you an update shortly, so that's been added. The boating pool beach works that Mr Wiseman had spoken about previously, that's on the list. The remedial works for the shelter slope, so that's added on the list. That's nearly concluded now, it's nearly completed. Obviously, we've already got in the earmarked reserves the local plan support we've had in there for a number of years, so that's still on the list. And then the recreation ground, which clearly that would be priority at the moment with the imminent transfer. And then we had the resolution from last year, which was the highway improvement plans. So we've got that again from the budget for this. Well, we're in April, so it is in this budget now. And then clearly we had a little bit in there for the Westgate Day anniversary as well. And clearly we've already spent some of that on the flag, which there was a resolution for. So that was just really to bring that list to the meeting this evening for members to, you know, hopefully agree that list. And that's from our budget that was a total of £15,000. If there's any questions or queries, please, I'm free to, or Councillor O'Connor's happy to answer them. Thank you. You're on mute, Councillor Cornford.
Sorry.
Right, thank you, Jill. Litter bins. It says 3 others to be identified. I noticed the other day I know it's Westbrook Avenue going into Westgate Bay Avenue, but there's one bin between the bridge and Barnes Avenue and Westgate. There's one tiny bin and one dog bin, and there's absolutely nothing from Boundary Road into Westgate. And that seems ridiculous with all the packaging that items are filled with and the number of dogs there are. And if we're picking up from one litter bin, we may as well pick up from a couple more litter bins. I mean, not everybody has the facility or the pocket size to put their rubbish in their pockets. And of course, with dog waste, that's a little bit unacceptable, although it has been known, I've been told. How do we go about identifying the site? Can we just nominate a site? Can we just say Westgate Avenue? Jill?
Yeah, so I'm going to say, if you want to pass any suggestions through to me by email, because I have to get them agreed with the district council as well, because they actually put them in situ.
Okay, okay. Does anybody else have any idea? Was that your hand up, Councillor Green? Oh, does anybody else have any ideas about placement of litter bins for Westgate residents? Okay, I'll email in then, Jill. Would you like photographs of potential sites?
Yes, please, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about the list of capital spends? Councillor Dr. Scott.
I was just talking about the litter bins, top of Belmont Road by the field. If I could see where that is, that would be wonderful. I'm just wondering whether there might be a dog poo bin outside my house. But that's just me, you know. Yeah. So an interest there. No, I think that it sounds brilliant. Does it all add up to the amount that we have, or do we need to kind of choose? Do we need to knock anything off? That's what I want to know. No, we can have it all.
We can have it all.
We can have it all.
We can have it all. That fits in. In fact, after this year end, we may even have some small surplus going into there. So we've just kept it like that, and we can rebuild on that once we finish this year off as well. So.
Excellent. I was just thinking about, you know, if the climate change report is less, then this might free up some more money if we are going to go down sort of a solar panel investment route, which, you know, is actually, it could be an investment for the town council. We could actually earn money from that going forward. So that's something to just think about with regards to bringing money in as well.
Councillor Dr. Scott, do you have much information on the number of panels and how much is generated that can be sold back?
I could find out. I don't have it like off the top of my head.
That would be really helpful. No,
Yeah.
Obviously not on the top of your head, but that would be really helpful. Thanks. Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Yes, there are, I mean, various options. There are ground source and air source heat pumps as well, which we could consider if the solar option isn't viable. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, shall we move on to the next item for the meeting? And that is...
Sorry, Councillor Cornwall, can will you have a vote on that, please? Or just to resolve that we've accepted that as a list.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, would someone like to propose that, please? Councillor Dr. Scott and seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Thank you. And everybody in agreement? I'll just squeeze that one in. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Jill. Our meeting dates for the next council year, well, for this council year, 2021 to 22. Jill.
Thank you. Yes. So I've put together a table, as I usually do, for the coming year. Clearly, the date for the June meeting, I'm going to keep a close eye on that, because it might be that we have to have that a little bit later, depending on the regulations, or we'd have to maybe find a premises where we can hold our June meeting to give us sufficient space to be socially distanced. So I'm going to keep my eye on the legislation that's coming through in the next week or so. So that June meeting, just be mindful, it might move slightly. But apart from that, the schedule as is normally proposed, and with the Finance and General Purposes Committee spaced out quarterly, because I think bi-monthly was a little bit too regular. There didn't seem to be enough to discuss bi-monthly. So we've moved that to quarterly. But as before this year, we've got the meetings spaced out exactly the same. The Tuesdays of each month, the Planning and Highways is the second Tuesday, full Council's Affairs Tuesday, and Human Resources towards the end of the month. So if anyone's got any questions or other queries, please let me know. And you'll see on the table as well, the events, tourism and development, that's going to be debated at the May annual Town Council meeting, because I know that a few members have asked if we could set up an events committee again, rather than a steering group. So that's going to be debated at the May meeting. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jill. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I'd just like to say that the Finance and General Purpose meeting, we tend to bring everything to full council. So it really is just a catch up on the reports and everything, and just get them ready to bring to full council. But obviously, if there's anything big that comes up, we will be holding an extraordinary meeting for that particular item anyhow. So it was just
Okay.
to say
Thank you.
the reason why it was felt.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Sorry, I was, yes. Is everybody happy? Does anybody have any comments about have they spotted anything that, you know, any big events that come up that we might have missed in making up this table? Is everybody all right with that? Would we like to agree then? Someone proposed that we accept this timetable. Thank you, Councillor Page, and seconded by Councillor O'Connor. And thank you, Jill, for sorting that out. Or, I was going to say, do you have any venues in mind? Everybody in agreement? Thank you. It's just not sinking in. Thank you. That was my lost question. Do you have a venue in mind for physical?
I was thinking if we do opt for the 1st of June, the community centre instantly sprang to mind, because that would give us sufficient space. Because what we have to factor in, of course, is members of the public attending as well. So it's not just about getting 10 people or 11 with me in the space at the front. It's actually if there are residents that want to come along as well. So I will be keeping a close eye, as I say, and if necessary, we might either move the meeting date or actually hold it at the community centre.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, because obviously we've got to comply with the government station, timetable as well, which is after that date for up to people, isn't it, inside? So it's a real, it's a real big thing, isn't it? Because, they might allow the council meetings, but if the government say you can't have a meeting with more than 30 people inside, then obviously, if it's
It's a tricky one, and this is why Sue Baxter at NALC and NALC itself are not very happy with having the legislation extension rejected by government, who are also giving out new rules and regs on the safety of public buildings. So it's very contradictory. Right, am I safe to move on, Jill? Thank you. The new policies for the Town Council, these are recommended for adoption by the HR committee. And the retention, everyone will have looked at these. Jill, do you want to say anything about these?
Only that obviously we debated them quite in depth at the HR committee, and the reasoning behind some of them, you'll see that the records retention and record management policy, we are still a young town council at the moment, but clearly as next year or so, we do need to have an actual policy in place to tell us how long we keep information under GDPR, how we dispose of it. So that's the idea behind this, and the retention schedule actually gives you all the legal reasons as well as to why it's so important. So that was that policy. The procurement policy, clearly we're taking on the recreation ground. It's likely we're going to have larger contracts and tender processes coming through. So that's very important as well, that we agree a procurement policy, because up until now we haven't had an asset to manage, and we haven't had huge contracts to deal with. So that was just to lay that all out as a proper adopted policy by members. And then the last two, the disciplinary and grievance. that actually falls in line with the staff handbook, which I went through and had adopted at the HR committee. So these two policies actually form part of the staff handbook, and they are also very critical as well to us meeting the foundation level for the council award scheme, which I'll be putting to members next month, because hopefully we'll have everything in place then to go forward with our foundation level application. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for those, Jill, because I know you did a lot of work and there was input from the HR committee. So it was something of a joint effort. Right, we need to approve these. The attention and the record.
Councillor Page has a hand raised.
Councillor Page, and then Councillor Pennington.
I've just got a small question regarding the procurement policy. Jill, on page 3, there's reference to the procurement threshold. Do we know what that threshold figure is, and should it be stated in the document? Because I couldn't see it.
It's usually not stated because I think it can change depending on our standing orders in terms of reference. But if you want me to share that with everybody following the meeting, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would that not be dependent on what was being procured?
I say it's clearly laid out usually in our terms of reference and our standing orders and financial regulations. So dependent on what was adopted last time, because clearly they won't be adopted until after the May meeting. But I can share that with members after this meeting. That's no problem at all.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Thank you, Councillor Page. Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. I also had a question on the procurement policy in relation to point 15, which states that the council is not obliged to take the lowest offer. I understood that normally the phrase economically most advantageous is used. In other words, the council would need to express in some way why it hadn't taken the lowest offer. And this is usually considered to be that another offer was economically better. Either it was better value for money or whatever. But for me, simply to say it's not obliged to take the lowest offer without offering an explanation is dangerous.
Okay. Do you have a proposal for additional wording, Councillor Pennington?
Yes, if we could add where it is shown that the lowest offer is not the economically most advantageous.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments on the on any of the policies? No, thank you. Would you prefer to go through these one at a time, Jill?
Well, I'm happy if anyone's got any questions. I've literally, I didn't want to read them all to everybody because I thought that would take up some time.
Yeah, and we've had a few days to think about them and comment on them and formulate, alternatives. So I suggest that we go through and if everyone is happy with the retention and record management policy, would somebody like to propose an acceptance? Councillor Dr. Scott and Councillor O'Connor. Thank you. And everybody in agreement? Thank you. And the procurement policy, proposer for that, Councillor Page, Councillor Donaldson, and everybody in agreement? Thank you very much.
Sorry, I had an amendment. Should we vote the amendment first?
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. That's
the first time. Yes, is everybody in agreement with the amendment, which is the change in the wording to ensure that everybody understands what is meant by the acceptance of the lowest of any tender? And the wording is where it is, I didn't quite catch all of it, Jill.
Where it is. sorry, yeah, where it is shown that it is the lowest of any tender, quotation or estimate, where it is shown that it is economically advantageous.
Is everyone happy with that? Councillor O'Connor has proposed and Councillor Page seconded, and we're all in agreement. Thank you. Sorry about that. The disciplinary policy. Nobody's commented on. Thank you, Councillor Dr. Scott proposed that we accept it, and Councillor O'Connor seconded it. And everybody in agreement? Thank you. And then finally, the grievance policy. Could we have a proposer, please? Councillor O'Connor, seconded by Councillor Pennington, and we're all in agreement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jill. And then moving on, item 12, the Westgate Day Town Council anniversary. And if we have any ideas on this to mark the date. Jill?
Thank you. Yes, so following obviously the last meeting, the Westgate town flag has been ordered, and also I put in for the advertisement consent to Thanet District Council. So hopefully that won't be too long before we've got that consent, and obviously then we'll be free to fly that flag on our flagpole. I've also had advice from the church, Karen Gooding, that they're actually going to have a town memorial service, and it will be held at Saints and Saviours at approximately 3:30 p.m. on the 18th of July. And that's to remember those in the community who are sadly no longer with us. Also, the community centre has been provisionally booked for the 18th of July. And I did have an idea that we could use this as a site for the exhibition for the train station 150th anniversary, because sadly we can't have very much of an event Monday. And also there might be an opportunity to use that date for neighbourhood plan regulation 14 consultation, because that's looking very likely now that we'll be able to commence that this summer. So it will be a very good idea to tie that all in, make use of the venue. So really, it was just to talk to you all about any other activities that you had in mind, and anything at all. Obviously, the Heritage Scarecrows themed for Westgate Day is another possibility, because Scarecrow Festival is due to commence on the 17th of July as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Councillor Page.
Thank you. I'm very pleased that we've got the flag coming through. That's going to be brilliant every year to have that hoisted. And it can also be used for other events throughout the year as they become obvious to us. So thank you for doing that, Jill. That's going to be really good. Having heard what Councillor Pennington said at the beginning of the meeting regarding the Lark Ascending, I wonder if that could be incorporated somewhere, perhaps as part of Karen Gooding's event at the church, because that may fall in nicely and be appropriate as part of the anniversary. I don't know whether Councillor Pennington would agree with that.
Thank you. The timescale that we had in mind for this performance was in the autumn. I'm sure that the violinist will be quite capable of performing the piece without much rehearsal. It's certainly something I can discuss. But when St Saviour's have had a chance to react and say whether they are willing to host it, then we could pursue dates, I think.
Councillor Page, were you thinking that would be an evening or a daytime event?
Well, I don't know how long that particular performance by the violinist would take. I mean, the Lark Ascending in itself is not going to take an enormous amount of time up. And I wondered if perhaps it might possibly be incorporated in the service that afternoon at St Saviour's, just as a suggestion.
Jill.
Yeah, so I'm happy to send an email to Mother Karen and you know, see what the possibilities are for that. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Pennington, were you going to say something else?
Well, I think we should wait and see how she reacts to the overall proposal, and then we can discuss timing, etc. The other thing, of course, is that musicians, I don't think will do this for free, so there will need to be funding from somewhere.
Right. Does anybody else have any ideas? I know it's difficult because a lot of people are not going to be keen on gathering and mixing so soon after the end of June, which is not very far away anyway, and we're still wearing masks and sanitizing and keeping our distance from everybody. I mean, outdoor events, yes. I mean, we did talk about an outdoor tea or an outdoor meal or possibly a picnic where everybody bought their own food and drink, and there was something like music to listen to, you know. But it's still not easy. Councillor Wallin.
Yeah, just a side thought in some ways, but if we do have an event that people can come to, some people might find that quite restrictive because they won't feel like they're being included in some way. I know there's not necessarily a solution, but some people say, well, I'll only go if you're asking for proof of everyone being in the building, having been vaccinated. Some people refuse to do that. You know, this passport thing, you might need a passport to go in a pub in a few months' time, we don't know, or a restaurant. Everybody's a bit up in, everyone's got different ideas on how it should be, but some people would find a single event for a couple of hours or even a few hours at a place where there isn't enough protection and restriction on who can go in. Some people would find that too preventative for them to join in.
Yeah, I think we're agreed it's not an easy time to arrange an event. We have put on a few things here, Jill.
Yeah. Just to say as well, Councillor Green's got his hand raised in case you haven't seen.
Sorry, Councillor Green, it is quite hard to see with your hand up. Please.
Yeah, obviously if we're going to look at a concert or something like that, or a large gathering, then at the current time, it's going to be lateral flow testing and ensuring that people have had tests. So I think it's something that really should be dismissed on a personal level. I don't think it's something we should even be looking at the moment, especially as we don't even know where we are, you know, coming up to next week where we're going to be standing. I think it's probably something that should just be pushed by the wayside for the moment. There'll be a lot of people that'll be you will get the odd one or two who are going to be quite keen to attend that sort of event, but I would imagine there'll be quite a lot of people, especially the elderly in town, that really wouldn't want to put themselves in a position like Councillor Welling quite rightly said. And I don't think it's something we should even be considering at this present time. So
No, I think we are all agreed on that factor, that people aren't going to be keen.
Yeah, that's fine. So basically with what I've proposed then, we've got the service at St Saviour's, the hoisting of the flag, and I've asked Mother Karen if she'd be prepared to say a few words as well when the flag's been hoisted. We hopefully have the Scarecrow Festival happening anyway, and if we can get with social distance in the community centre, because they do have doors in and out, you can come in and out different ways. Hopefully we can have the exhibition on to mark the train station, and obviously we'll steward how many people are entering and leaving and keep it all very much under control. So if everybody's happy, that's what I'll go forward with for that day.
Councillor Pennington.
Could you associate the Reverend David Yule from Christchurch to the flag raising? So we're covering both Westgate churches, I mean.
Sorry, could you say that again, Councillor Pennington?
I was suggesting that we associate the Reverend David Yule, who was the minister at Christchurch, with events as appropriate. not just St Saviour's, that's what I meant.
Yeah. So extend an invitation.
Yeah.
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 And it's David, because it's changed, hasn't it? David Yule, how do you spell it? Is that Y
Y-U-L-E, said simply.
as in Yule? Right. Thank you, Councillor Pennington. So are we all in agreement that we will stick with the 4 items that we already have? Is everybody happy with that? Thank you, Councillor Scott and Dr. Scott and Councillor O'Connor.
No, it's just a quick sorry, it was just a quick comment.
Sorry.
With regards to the Larkis ending inside during the service, just to see whether, you know, whether that is an appropriate thing to have during the service, or whether we're not going to go ahead with that. But it does sound like a lovely thing to do. And there may be some people that, you know, might want to join in. A lot of people are vaccinated now, especially the elderly people and vulnerable. So there may be some people that will want to go along, and obviously they're attending the church anyway, so they'll be there. And also the idea around the picnic, outdoor picnic is a nice idea. So yeah, I think as we're coming out of this lockdown, I think a lot of people will want to be out and about and doing things now, and a lot of people are vaccinated, so I think the risk, you know, and the fear is starting to drop.
Yes, there is that. I mean, from the people that we see out and about, you can tell that there is a more relaxed attitude. But for the purposes of the meeting, I think we need to make a decision. And I think the general consensus is that we contain it to the 4 items on Jill's report. Councillor Page. Is that a proposal? Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Wallin, and everybody in favour? Thank you. Item number 13, the SCI, Statement of Community Involvement, which is about how the community can become involved in the policies and the predetermination of planning applications. Jill, do you want to talk us through this? And then I thought perhaps definitely Dr. Scott would lead on the feedback.
Okay, thank you. Yes, for those of you that are at the Planning, Highways and Environment Committee, you'll know that this came before that committee. They debated the responses. It is not entirely clear, I think, because you have to just give comments at each section rather than actual prescribed questions. So it does make it a bit more tricky, I think. But they did formulate some responses. And you'll see in my report that I've listed down to section 9, where they had feedback and comments. And then section 10, review, there was no comments resolved at the meeting. So that was in addition if members here this evening wanted to add. So I don't know if perhaps Dr. Scott wants to say anything more about the Statement of Community Involvement review.
I think we went through it, and actually the review was really good. And it was a little bit strange to be able to input, but we did find it actually, that what was being suggested was something that we had hoped would happen. But I think our comment was going to be that we were quite concerned that these types of things hadn't happened when we were going through all those years of the local plan consultation. We found that there was a gap. And that we weren't sure how to input into the local plan consultation. We found it very wordy, and that we found that there was a gap of information coming to Westgate, and that the consultation wasn't early, considering the fact that we had 1,000 houses. Then we felt like there was sort of hiding, because they knew that actually they were going to get a lot of feedback from us. And I think in this review, it states clearly that they will consult as early as possible now. So we thought that was quite good. But yeah, I think we did want to have some kind of comment to say that this is all very good and we agree with this. However, we felt that this didn't actually happen in experience over the past sort of 5 years. I think there was a number of comments that we stated at the Planning, Highways and Environment Committee, Jill, that you might have taken notes on when we were discussing as well.
Yes, so you'll see that in my report. So for section 1, the comment was that it was very clear and concise introduction. And then the comment for section 2 was the addition of the word Thanet district, because it wasn't clear where they quoted council that it was Thanet district.
Yeah, no, sorry, I meant as in the overall comment that we were going to kind of put back, that they didn't actually ask, they were asking questions about the consultation, but we really were quite eager to kind of give an overall response as well, to say, that we were happy with all of these things. However, this was our experience over the past 5 years. So I don't know if that can be added somewhere. I'm not too sure where. Maybe it, point 10.
Yeah. Point 10.
But other councillors might want to input in that.
Would that not be like a collation of all the comments? Or is that too simple?
I think it is point 10. I think it is point 10 where you've got any other comments about this review. So I think that's where you could add what Councillor Dr. Scott's just described as your overall experience.
Councillor Page, because I know you input well on this.
There is just one thing I would like to comment on, and perhaps we should try and include if we can. At the last PH&E meeting, Dr. Councillor Scott had a letter that she'd received from Thanet District Council as a resident, advising of the planning application in regards to the new house build. But it was very clear that further away from the edge of the fields, residents such as myself hadn't received that letter advising of the planning application and were not aware of it. So it's possible, from knowing that Councillor Scott received that letter, that perhaps the Thanet District Council are not writing as widely to residents as perhaps they should or could. And I think that will rather depend on the size of a planning application in terms of its expanse and size. And the new housing development is big compared to a lot of planning applications that we have to study. And I think it's important that when you have something such as a housing development, that as many homes and residents that exist should be advised by letter as soon as possible. And that should go out widely, not just to people on the immediate vicinity. And I think that's an important thing to raise with them, that communication should be much wider for very large planning applications to encompass as many residents as possible.
You're on mute, Councillor Crawford.
Yes, Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I have noticed on several occasions that the authorities, whether it's KCC or TDC, say, oh, we consulted very widely, and yet we are inundated with complaints that nobody knew about it. And I do think it's related to this idea that if you publish information somewhere, that people will know about it. And I think a much more proactive approach is really needed, that it's not for citizens to spend every day searching for information that might concern them, but it's the responsibility of the councils to actively alert people to the information and that their views are being sought. I think what Councillor Page has just said is just a glaring example of this. Thank you.
Yes, and that is nationwide. We've heard quite a few comments about consultations in the UK where residents have felt, or organisations have felt, that the distribution of information has been poor and the uptake of views has not been welcomed, really. That's what it boils down to, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do we go forward with this, Jill? We want to formulate a comment for number 10.
Yes, please. If
Item
members
number 10, not number 10 Downing Street.
yes, if members are in agreement to the other 9 comments that are listed on the report, then it's to formulate the number 10, the review of the SCI, to formulate a comment to go forward on the consultation. Thank you.
Right, and that needs to be based on what Councillor Page and Councillor Pennington have said about the consultation not being as comprehensive as possible or as available to residents. There should be better availability and better, what's the word for it? Delivery of information.
Communicated widely.
So that's better communication, better delivery, and improved opportunities for comment. Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, this particular build affects everybody in Westgate because of traffic, and everything else like that goes with it. So it should hit all the residents, as you said, not just a few. It affects everybody in Westgate, a build this size. We don't even get a comment from across the road where they're building a private house. They just do the ones opposite them. And really, we should. We're around the corner. It's going to affect us for traffic. So actually, you're right. They don't let the people know. They just think that's it. And if you can look up on yourself on the internet, well, that doesn't happen with a lot of people. You like to see that letter come through so you can read it. So I think, I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah, and considering the size of the Isle of Thanet and the number of planning applications that are going through, it is an island-wide. We are all going to be affected, especially with the highways access.
Councillor Cornford, I think my comment was with regards to consulting early with the public before sort of decisions are made. Because this has come as a shock to Westgate, and we really had to push hard to have a presentation in Westgate, and actually we've become 2,000 houses. We've got the most houses in any of the towns across Thanet, and we really had to push for that information to come to us, and then trying to communicate that through the questionnaire. Even though we understood how to input on the questionnaire, that was very hard for us to do. We weren't too sure where exactly we were supposed to put the answers. So I think making that a bit clearer would be useful, or making it clearer to people that they can just write in as an email explaining why they feel aggrieved, or why something's positive.
Thank you. Yes, it's just getting the terminology correct, and we're all quite new to this. Jill?
So I thought that where Councillor Dr. Scott said that you wanted to cover that this isn't your experience, what the SCI lays out isn't the experience that some council has.
Jill, your sound has gone a bit funny. That's fine. That's good now. Better? Yes.
Okay, I'll sit more forward. I think, what Councillor Dr. Scott was saying about it's not the town council's experience that, over the last few years, they haven't experienced what's laid out in the SCI, and that you feel that people should be more widely written to by letter for the larger consultations. I think those 2 key points, and then maybe bullet points of the other things that you've raised. Things like the responsibility of the councils to alert residents. You feel very strongly about that. The fact that there should be better communicated, also improved delivery of information, consult early as well. That's what I've got in bullet points.
Thank you. Councillor Pennington.
Should there be something about the scale or proportion of the consultation in relation to the importance of the planning application itself, if we're talking?
As in wider engagement?
Page, mate.
Sorry.
Sorry.
As in like wider engagement of residents?
Yeah, but I mean, because it's a very large scale planning application, it merits a large scale consultation.
Yeah, I did cover that point off. I said that it should be widely more communicated by letter for the larger consultations.
Yes.
Well, it's the scale of the application.
Scale of application. Okay, no problem.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Pennington?
Yes, thank you.
Good. How many bullet points do we have, Jill? 5,
and then you have the comments at the front, which I said it wasn't our experience that's laid out in the SCI. It's not experience of the Town Council, and obviously where Councillor Page said that the larger consultation, sorry, there should be larger consultation for the larger planning applications. Basically, the larger the application, you know, the scale of it, like Councillor Pennington said, the more widely the distance that those residents should be given a letter addressed to.
Right, that's to do with, yeah, the scope of the residents, isn't it? The boundary. The number of residents consulted who are likely to be affected by the planning application. Because at the moment is
I think those comments sound good. I think that's probably it in a nutshell, what Jill's got, I think.
Yes, thank you, Jill. Thank you for your input, everybody. And would someone like to propose that we go ahead with the bullet point response? Councillor Pennington, seconded by Councillor Page. Thank you. And is everybody in agreement? It's all good. Thank you. And item number 14 is the Thanet local plan review, a call for sites consultation. Jill will share the details with this and we need to make a decision. Jill.
Thank you, yes. So like Councillor Dr. Scott said earlier, I've been working with her and Danielle Dunn to formulate a draft response for bringing to members this evening. So the call for sites has been communicated to us by TDC. I won't read out the list of all the range of uses because you probably had an opportunity to read that. The draft response that Danielle has proposed, I don't know whether Councillor Dr. Scott, do you want me to read that to everybody?
Oh, I'm not me. Is it quite? It's quite long, isn't it? I think. Can we just yes. Paraphrase it to explain what we're trying to do?
If you don't mind, then I'll hand that over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, so basically, there's 2 areas. One area is within Westgate. So, in the local plan, there you go. In the local plan, they drew a line from Linksfield all the way over to Garlenge, and that's the line that really the 2,000 houses should be built behind. On the right hand side, what they want to do is build all the way down to Shottendane Road, and they'd already come over the footpath, so we thought, you know, possibly on that side, if that's really what they need to do to build a decent development, then they're going to build all the way down to Shottendane Road on the right hand side, which is east of Minster Road. But on the west of Minster Road, we don't want them building over the bridle path, because when you're walking along bridle path, then it's Oh, could you turn it back round again to that first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still talking on that. Yeah, that's brilliant. So we don't want them building over the bridle path, because you know that's a really lovely path to walk along and to see open space to the south of Westgate. So what we've done is drawn the line where it should be. We don't want them building beyond the allocation that they said on this side. And we want to allocate that whole area as open space. And there's two proposals, either that it's an extension of the green wedge, which is an allocation, or a local green space, which is another allocation, both of which would be protected from building on. So we wouldn't be saying that we'd walk all over it, because obviously Quex farms it, but it just would be left as open space and not be built on for the future. So this gives us a wonderful opportunity that if we can get this and allocate this, it means that the whole of Westgate won't be built up in the future. So we're really, really hopeful that this is going to be the case. But also because of the fact that they're going to extend Shottendame Road and widen it, then there's a risk of actually an extension of houses all the way to the south side of Shottendame Road. So that other map, Jill. Thank you. So this is the south of Shottendame Road, and so what we've done is allocated that area too, and said we'd like this as open space as well, and that could be either green wedge or biodiversity net gain space, where they can offset and maybe plant trees and things like that. So basically what we're trying to do is look into the future and think, well, if you're a developer, where would you build? And if you've got a nice widened road, then you might start building to the south of Westgate. And so we're trying to just look into the future and trying to allocate that as open space. And if we can do that, I just think it would be amazing, and we might actually get, you know, something from this whole neighbourhood plan process and local plan process. So I'm quite excited about this. Obviously, in order for it to be deliverable, we will need Quex Estates agreement. But Jill has already been on the phone to them to say, this is what we're hoping to do. We'd really, really like this to be kept as open space. And it's up to them to decide whether that can be done or not, because we obviously need their agreement as landowners.
Thank you, Councillor Dr. Scott. And it will also benefit the well-being of everybody, the countryside feel, the openness, and it could really benefit tourism, because Westgate could become an iconic heritage site, not a heritage site as such, but somewhere to come that is both healthy with the sea, and also there's a lot of heritage, and agriculture is part of our heritage, and open spaces, biodiversity, it all fits into the theory that we are given by government. So I feel that we will keep that south of the bridle path clear. It feels positive, and with the help that we've engaged, it's definitely positive. We need to make a decision on that, don't we, Jill?
Yes, please. Councillor Pennington's got his hand raised.
Sorry, Councillor Pennington.
Well, exactly. I was going to thank Councillor Dr. Scott and Jill for all the work they put in. I found that a very clear proposal, explanation, and I wanted to support the proposal.
Thank you.
And proposal, actually.
Thank you. And seconder for that, Councillor Page. And is everyone in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much. And then next, item number 14B, the response of the email that we received from the Secretary of State, Housing, Communities and Local Government, and the draft response we have. We haven't shared, this hasn't been shared, has it, Jill?
No, it hasn't. I mean, if you want me to read it, it's one side, one page, A4. Again, we spoke to Danielle and enlisted her help in drafting this response. So I don't know if Councillor Dr. Scott, are you happy for me to read this? Yeah, okay. Okay.
Can I just say, has everybody seen the original response that you sent out by him? Yes, Councillor Donaldson is nodding his head, so that's all good. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So you'll remember, members, we sent the letter to Sir Roger Gale, and on his suggestion, we shared it with Robert Jenrick, the Prime Minister, and George Eustice. So we did have a response back from the planning reform team on behalf of Robert Jenrick. So we have, with Danielle's assistance, draft a response. So this is what the draft says. Thank you for taking the time to respond to our email of the 26th of February 2021. However, following a meeting of Westgate-on-Sea Town Council held on the 6th of April, it was felt that your response does not go far enough to protect the best and most versatile agricultural land in the local area of Westgate-on-Sea and the southeast in general, and therefore the Town Council would like to put forward additional arguments to support their original concerns. Firstly, it is noted that under Schedule 4Y of the Town and Country Planning Development Management Procedure, England Order DMPO 2015, Natural England has to be consulted on any planning applications that would cause a loss of 20 or more hectares of land with an ALC grading of 1, 2 or 3A, agricultural land, sorry, if they are not in the development plan. However, this therefore does not protect sites that are already in the development plan, and there does not seem to be any statutory requirement to consult Natural England on development sites as the local plan is emerging. Much of the land that is to be developed on BMV agricultural land in Thanet has been allocated in the newly adopted development plan. Subsequently, it can be assumed that this land has not had such a thorough, vigorous assessment as a site that has come forward as a windfall development site. Secondly, your response fails to mention the 2019 government document, A Green Future, our 25-year plan to improve the environment, which sets out what we will do to improve the environment within a generation. This document is actively promoted through government's Guide to Assessing Development Proposals on Agricultural Land, published on the 5th of February 2021. It plans to, bullet points these are, protect the best agricultural land, put a value on soils as part of our natural capital, manage soils in a sustainable way by 2030, restore and protect peatland. New development will happen in the right places, delivering maximum economic benefit while taking into account the need to avoid environmental damage. We will protect ancient woodlands and grasslands, high flood risk areas, and our best agricultural land. And that's taken from A Green Future, our 25-year plan to improve the environment, page 35. Finally, the basis to which BMV agricultural land is assessed is woefully outdated. The agricultural classification dates from 1988, and it does not provide total coverage of the whole country. When is the government going to update the guidance on this so that all authorities across the country are comparing like with like? More can be done to identify lower graded land and brownfield sites nationally. It seems from your response that the government is actively ignoring its own recent guidance, and the protection of BMV agricultural land is not a high priority enough for the government. On this basis, Westgate-on-Sea Town Council would like to, and Danielle has suggested that you could consider actually calling in Gallup's planning application. I don't know what members feel about that and whether or not we want to seek a bit more consultation with Danielle on that subject, but that's what she said to me in an email. Thank you.
Sorry, Jill, did you say call in the Gallups?
That's what Danielle has suggested on the end of an email. She said where she ended the letter, where she said Westgate-on-Sea, yeah, she said that clearly the town council will need to decide if you would like to call the Gallops planning application in, and this could be how you end the letter.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's unfortunate that this wasn't emailed out, and I feel responsible for that. Councillor Pennington.
Thank you. Thank you to Jill for reading that, and I agreed with every word. I think it's the right level of response for us to give. When she talks about calling it in, does this mean that the Secretary of State would call in the application? I think that is absolutely the right approach. But I think also, I don't know if we'd had any comments from Sir Roger about the response from Jenrick's department, and whether he thinks that the reply is along the right lines. I would feel a bit more comfortable if he could come in and support this. I think he's likely to if he's involved in the correspondence, but I think the letter itself is excellent. Thank you.
Councillor Dr. Scott.
Yeah, I think so. I think I typed an email response to this when it first came through. So I need to kind of look at that wording again. But basically, it was there was a number of sentences that I wrote that explained that in the National Planning Policy Framework, that developers have to use lower quality land first. And it's clear in Thanet that we don't have much lower quality land. We have the best and most versatile agricultural land. And so that stipulation within the National Planning Policy Framework that's supposed to be protecting the best and most versatile agricultural land does not apply in Thanet. So that was the point that we've tried to make a few times, is that the National Planning Policy Framework doesn't apply to the Isle of Thanet. And so therefore the National Planning Policy Framework needs to change with regards to building on agricultural land. And there was a suggestion that we've made a few times that there should be perhaps a stipulation that only a very small percentage of the best and most versatile agricultural land can be used within a local plan period. So for the objectively assessed housing needs, say if it's 20,000, only a very small percentage of that, and it could be limited, can be built on the best and most versatile agricultural land. And I think then that would make it clear that only, say 1,000 houses could be built on farmland. So I think if we could have something like that, which would then be a very clear idea of where, it's not so much a banning of building on the best and most versatile agricultural land, but only up to say 5% of the objectively assessed housing need can be built on the best and most versatile agricultural land, which at the moment, I think it's more than 50% that's being built on our top grade agricultural land. So I think it's something like that, really, that we need to kind of propose in our letter to make it really clear that that's actually what we want. And it's possible we could call this in. I'd imagine that it would be useful to have Sir Roger Gale on our side and maybe call in both the Birchington and the Westgate sites. So then you're looking at 3,600 houses on agricultural land. We could also include all of the sites all the way along Shottendane Road, which then adds up to sort of 5,000 houses on agricultural land. And I think this is the point, is that there's been no clear full impact assessment of the cumulative effect of building on all of this agricultural land. And that's what I've always been shocked with, is that they keep on taking individual sites, but actually the whole of Thanet is a massive loss. So I don't know if you've got that down, Jill. There was 3 points in there, but I don't know what people think. But if we could make it clear that we want the National Planning Policy Framework to be changed, and that there should be a very small limit on the percentage of the objectively assessed housing need that can be built on the best and most versatile agricultural land, then that will save our agricultural land in the future. Having this build on lower quality land, it doesn't apply in Thanet. It just doesn't save our agricultural land. don't know
Jill?
if that's clear to everyone.
Jill?
Yeah, I was going to say, from what I've gathered from comments we've had, I think that people would really want to go away, get me to approach Sir Roger Gale with what's been discussed this evening, talk about the draft response that we're planning and the calling in, and then I think Councillor Dr Scott would like to add some comments to this draft. So if members are in agreement, I'm happy to go away and do those actions and work with Councillor Dr Scott to finalise the draft response.
Jill, do we have anything from Natural England? Are there any reports from Natural England? Because the local authority is supposed to consult Natural England.
I don't know if there is anything on the Gallup's TDC portal. I haven't actually looked, but I can certainly have a look for you and let you know.
Well, thank you. I'll have a look too. No, I think is everybody happy with that suggestion? Good. Is that would you like to lead the proposal on that one, Councillor Pennington?
Yes.
Yes, and seconded by Councillor O'Connor, and everybody in agreement. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
And now item number 15, the draft action plans for the Town Council. Again, we are looking at the decision on this work that Jill's put in.
Yeah, so what I did, I took the forward plan that was adopted and taken actions that I've identified that are either in the progress of accomplishing or working towards for this coming financial year. So that's, if there's any comments, if anyone has any actions that they want to add, or there's anything that they feel shouldn't be such a priority, that's why I wanted to bring the draft plan to members this evening. We're also going to take the opportunity at the annual town meeting to ask the residents as well their feedback on the action plan that's this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Your sound went a little bit on that one.
Great. Do you want me to repeat?
I'm sorry. If everyone else got it, that's fine. That's fine. No.
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah, it'll work. Everyone's okay. Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Dr Scott, sorry.
Yeah, I just thought when I read through it, it just looks absolutely excellent, really. All of the actions, you know, for the next year or so, they're all, you know, basically what we've discussed. So I just think, you know, that basically is what we'd like to aim for in a nutshell.
Yep. And everybody's happy with that. And would somebody like to propose? Thank you, Councillor Page. Councillor Donaldson seconding, and everybody in agreement. Lovely. Thank you very much. We're getting quite close to our 2-hour statutory timing. So if we could, I'll move on quickly.
I was going to say you might want to just get a resolution for an extra 15 minutes because I don't think you're going to get through 4 items in 15
No, you're
minutes.
right, we're not. Would someone like to propose? Thank you, Councillor Dr Scott, and a seconded from Councillor Nightingale. Thank you, and everybody in agreement that we carry on for another 15 minutes. Item number 16, the Christmas lights. Jill has an update for us all. So lots of hard work and astute timing.
Thank you very much. So following the meeting last month, when members resolved that the Town Council would take on the responsibility of installing new lighting, so we didn't take on the existing lighting, we resolved that we would have new lighting. Sorry, can you hear me, Councillor Pennington? Can you hear me? So what I did, I approached the supplier that we got quotes from last year for the large motifs and the lamp columns. Sadly, those large motifs were no longer in stock. but they did have a large number of sale items. So what I did was the funding that we had from Kent County Council, the resolution from the additional funding from members last year, which was for £425, and then we had a donation from a local business as well of £1,600. So put that all together, and we've managed to secure, I'm trying to remember how many meters it is. It's actually 17 braids that will wrap around each lamp column. So each lamp column would have a braid, LED braid that will wrap around. And for that as well, I've had confirmation from Kent County Council, we don't need to do the load testing. So we won't need to do that. So that will be a cost saving as well. And we have 42 7.5 metre lengths of LED pure white braids for shop fronts. So we will be able to adorn a lot more fronts of shops and in the town this coming year. So it was really lucky that the sale ended on the 31st of March, and I was able to secure the order before the sale expired. So that's really good news. We haven't taken delivery of it all yet, but it's all been secured. So I'll be working with the electrician now on scheduling when we can organise the installation. Clearly, we have to think about in the coming months whether or not we're going to install it and leave it out, because Kent County Council said there is that opportunity. You can leave them out all year. But I want to have that conversation with the electrician because obviously if vandalism as well is a factor we have to consider. If we left them out, there might be an opportunity for vandalism. So I'll come back to members with an update in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for being, really on it, so that we took advantage of the sale and actually did better with the twisty lights, which will include Cambourne Avenue and Cuthbert Road. So that's good. They've been much more inclusive. They've been a little bit centred on Station Road in the past years. Item number 17 is the NHS Social Care and Frontline Workers Day. And there's a flag involved with this, isn't there, Jill?
Yes. So this again is a nationally recognised and organised day. You might have seen it. It's for the NHS Social Care and Frontline Workers. On the 5th of July, they're actually organising a national celebration of these people that have kept us all going. And apparently 5th of July 1948 was the historic moment when the National Health Service was born. So that's where it all is from. I won't read out all the information in the report, but basically I've made some research, and it is a national organised occasion, and it's going to be a fundraising opportunity as well for two charities, NHS Charities Together and National Care Association. So they're the recognised national charities. They've hinted at some ways that we can mark the occasion, and one of them is to have a flag which we can purchase and fly from our flagpole. So I gave you the nice design drawing of that on the report, and all the description of how it's made, and it's actually £49.31, and £5 of that is donated to the charities. So that was just the decision for this evening for members, if they felt that we should purchase the flag and mark that occasion. Clearly, all the other opportunities, 2-minute silence, toast to the heroes, all that sort of thing, afternoon tea, we don't have to organise that as well. I mean, if members felt that they just wanted to do the flag raising, that's absolutely fine. And potentially we could talk to St Saviour's about bringing church bells and things like that. But it was just really to get that decision whether or not you felt it was important to mark the occasion, purchase the flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Does Councillor O'Connor?
Well, as I work for the NHS, I think definitely need to support it.
You were going to be raising the flag.
I think so. But yeah, no, I support that we mark it, and certainly I think for that price for a flag, I think that was, yeah, an excellent idea. Thank you.
Yes. Councillor Wallen.
Yeah, so if Councillor O'Connor is proposing it, I'll second it.
Thank you. And everyone's in favour of purchasing the NHS flag. Lovely, thank you. Councillor Green, that all right? Yes, I ticked the ringing of the church bells. I thought that would be really nice because everybody would hear those, and it's a background thing, and you don't have to breathe on anyone or get close. What, did you say you'd speak to Mother Karen about that, Jill?
Yes, yes,
Lovely.
I'll do that.
Thank you. Number 18, the proposal for a youth council. Jill's got a very good report for us, which we will have read. Jill, do you want to add comments to this?
I mean, I won't read it all to you, but basically, hopefully you've had a chance to have a look. It was just brilliant, an update this evening. I've been having lots of emails. I've just literally sent the email out. Sorry,
When you're like that, we can hear you. When you relax, sit back.
Okay. I know it's getting late.
Sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, so you'll see that I've put in there the pledges of support we've already had, and clearly there are a lot more emails that I've sent out. We've had a really exciting response from the youth project. They're very much on board. The PCSO as well, he's on board. Changing Minds Kent, they said they're happy to be involved. Obviously, I've approached the Scouts, the Guides, our 3 community centres, the KCC Youth Services team, because they do have a youth council at KCC. We have the Social Enterprise Social Prescribing Manager as well. I've approached lots of local schools to see if there's anybody in their school that wants to be involved. So until I get more updates, I just didn't want to bring the decision to you this evening until I've had a more of a response from the emails that I've sent out. I've also contacted the Kent Police Crime Commission's office to inquire if there's any opportunity for funding to support this. And you'll see that I've done some research on the age range, and I'm proposing it's 13 to 21-year-olds. And that was anyone that works, studies or lives in Westgate-on-Sea. And also the Duke of Edinburgh Award Programme. They're very keen to be involved. That's very exciting. The person that deals with our area is so engaging, and yeah, so that's really exciting. And I think that's really key to get engagement from the young people. There is an award scheme that they can work towards, and it's good to have that involved with the Youth Council. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, you've been very busy, and there are also the Ursuline, they do the Duke of Edinburgh Award. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I've also done some work on this, quite a bit of research, and to try and stimulate a bit of interest, I've also written a article for the next quarter, so that'll be the June quarter magazine, which I kind of missed for this quarter because it was full up by the time I finished it. But I'm 3 months in front now, so I'm very pleased with it. You know, it kind of fits it. It does fit in very nicely into the action plan and the forward plan for the council over the next year or two. So it's great. I think it's a wonderful thing for, and also Birchington have one. And that seems to be going very well. So we don't want to let Birchington beat us, do we?
Councillor Dr. Scott.
Yeah, it's just a quick question. How it works? Does a councillor have to sit on it, or is it going to be run independently by the young people themselves with the town clerk?
Jill.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, there doesn't have to be a councillor involved. I mean, it's good practice that there is, just because then you get not just my feedback, but obviously from a member's perspective as well. So I think it is important that 1 or 2 members are actively involved at the meetings, whether or not that could be on a rota. If those members that were interested want to put themselves forward and take turns in a rota, that's absolutely something that we can decide once we get to that stage, because clearly at the moment we're still not had a decision from everybody. But that's how I my vision was that those that want to be involved, could be at meetings as well, because I think that's really important as well for the young people to have that involvement.
And it's about succession planning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very important. No, thank you, Councillor Donaldson, and thank you, Jill. Does anybody want to comment, have anything to say, anything to add to that? No. In that case, we have actually squeezed in.
You've got the addendum, Councillor Cornford.
Do you know what? I've missed that, Jill. Not doing very well at the moment.
It's the most important thing on the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson.
But there we go, we'll forgive you.
How did I miss that? I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
You replied to
Okay.
it, sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Cornford.
Say again, Dr. Scott.
You replied to it by email about the green.
Yeah.
Transfer
The
of
community asset transfer of the War Memorial Recreation Ground.
Yes. On the, oh, well, I'm obviously completely fallen off and under the ball, because we had the item number 19.
And now we've got the addendum, item 20.
Yes,
Are you happy
you'll
for
have
me
to, Jill.
Continue. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you very much. Literally, it was, at the last hour that I got all the information from the solicitor at Boys and Morn, that meant I could do the addendum in time for you for this evening. As you're all aware, the community asset transfer has been ongoing for some time. All the deliberations about the fees and everything seems such a long time ago now. Anyway, we are at the final hurdle, hopefully. So I shared all the reports and information that was sent to me from Boys and Morn. So you'll see, hopefully you've got the report, which was taken from the local council searches and all the other information, the titles and everything else. And it was very concise, her report. I have read through it and looked at all the plans and everything else that went with it. There was just two things I wanted to bring to your attention. Where you've got on page, where is it? Oh, and I picked up the copy that I had highlighted a copy. Let me find that. Sorry, I've fallen off the perch now. Okay. So it's the chancel. Where does it tell you? Chancel repair liability. So I've checked that with the conveyancer, because clearly she does highlight this report. We might want to take out the liability insurance. And I've taken the opportunity to get a quote from her. She said it'd be £40 for each item, so £120 in total. And that would then mean that we haven't got to worry about any liability for chancel repairs, should they be raised after the transfer. So I think that is a recommendation that I'd like to put to members to make sure that that's not a possibility for us. And then I think where she mentioned, sorry,
the volume's going again.
Oh, okay. I'll try and lean forward. So that was the chancel repair liability. My recommendation would be to take out the insurance policies. You need 3 in total, 1 for each shelter and 1 for the recreation ground, which would be approximately £20. She said they are £40 each in that region. So it's not expensive, and it will mean that we won't be liable for any chancel repairs if it does come to our attention after the transfer.
So is this like buildings insurance?
It's an indemnity, so that, yes, so that there is no opportunity that any chancel repairs can be put at the door of the town council, because clearly since 2013 it hasn't transferred. So there is that small chance. It's not a huge risk, but it is a risk. So I think for that amount of money, it's not worth. Yeah.
No, that's very reasonable. Councillor Page.
Just a quick question. I don't know what a chancel repair is. Is there an explanation for that?
Yes, so basically it's repairs to your local church. So I think what it is, if there's a covenant or something historically on that piece of land where the church might have had some interest in that land, it could mean that you're liable for repairs to your local church. Apparently, yeah, apparently, you know, and it's just, you say it's a small risk, but because obviously the land goes back a number of years, and they don't recommend that you can do a search, but they said it's not very, it's not 100% accurate. You can never, so it, you know, it's just better to buy this indemnity and then you don't have that problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. Can I ask what Councillor Dr. Scott?
Yeah, I was just wondering about liability. So when we're taking it over, we haven't taken over the liability of the play area as yet, have we? TDC is still going to be doing all the checks and things for health and safety?
No, so once this transfer's undertaken, all the liabilities, everything is at our door. So we are responsible for ensuring the play area is safe, the skate park safe, the Legionella's tested in the pavilion when that's open for showers, everything. You know, we are responsible. So it is a very firm commitment, and the liabilities and everything fall to us. So our insurance policy and everything has to make sure that we have enough cover.
So can I just ask one more question with that? So when TDC do the checks, I think they do regular checks on the play area. Who's going to be who's qualified to be able to do those kind of checks in the play area?
So we'll be having to get an outside contractor, and we have three, Chloe's got the information, we've got three potential contractors, and we'll be getting quotes once we are at that position, because they have to be ROSPA checks. So they have to be to the ROSPA standard.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. Can I ask, what time did you send that email with the addendum?
What time?
Yes, was it this morning or this afternoon?
No, it was last week. It was. Oh
right. Oh well, don't worry then. I've obviously just completely missed it, and I do apologise to everybody. Thank you for all the information. And Councillor O'Connor. Councillor O'Connor.
Yeah, just to say that we have actually put the budget in to cover for the insurance and things that we knew that we would be responsible for this year. So if everybody was worried that that's a, you know, a hidden expense, we did know that we would be paying for insurance and that lot this year.
No, thank you for pointing that out. Would someone like to propose that we agree? Thank you, Councillor Page, and seconded by Councillor Donaldson, and everybody in agreement. Okay. Thank you. That is it then. No more forgotten bits. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for your input and your support this evening. And I wish you well for the rest of the week. Thank you, Jill, for your all your reports, which are really helpful and take some time to put together, I know. So much appreciated. And yes, risk assessments at the recreation, well, that's just easy, isn't it? After doing all these meetings. No, thank you very much, and good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Well done.
Good night, everyone.
That's
Bye-bye.
all.
Thank you.